about my summer internship at Community Coffee. So I'm going to discuss a few different projects I worked on while working within the procurement department. The procurement department is the purchasing department, really in charge of all things related to purchasing cups, to teamware, to the actual K-cups used in coffee production as well. So to begin with, my first project was working on an SOP cleanup. An SOP is a standard operating procedure, and before I came there was a folder that had a bunch of SOPs that were made before, but none of them really had a clear certified this is good to go, and it was unclear which ones had been updated, which ones had been improved, etc. So I took the time to clean up this file and then figure out what are the SOPs we have and what are the SOPs that we need. And I ended up creating about 9 original SOPs. So this is what the file looked like before. It's really hard to read. You can't really tell when it's been created and who has approved it, or really even what the SOP is intended for. I created a new Excel sheet that has everything color-coded and organized, so you can easily tell which SOP belongs into which area and who approved it at what date and by who. The next project I worked on was the RFX template creation. RFX is a term that is used to encompass the RFP, RFI, and RFQ process. This stands for Request for Proposal, Request for Information, and Request for Quotation. This is the terminology used to describe how a business requests other vendors to give them information on products they need. For example, if you need paper towels, you'll send out this document saying I need X amount of paper towels, and companies will send back their bids for the project. Before my creation of this template, every employee was making their own templates. Every time they were using it, there was no standard look. So this will help standardize and make it more efficient so the buyer can just focus on the product they're looking for rather than the template that they have to make for it. I also created an objective comparison tool to look at how suppliers compare to each other. Prior to this template, to this matrix, the company was just evaluating it based on more subjective roles, and this really helps take the emotion away and say, okay, clearly option A is better because of XYZ reasons. The next thing I worked on was a supplier segmentation tool. The supplier segmentation tool, again, is something that is used to take the subjectivity away from the business. So supplier segmentation is very important to a business. It allows a company to see how their suppliers that they use compare to each other and where they need to focus the most time on. Most time should be spent on companies that have high annual spends and high risk to the company. So what this tool does is it asks the reader to answer a series of 10 questions and add the estimated annual spend. The background of the Excel tool will then do calculations to determine which tier it'll fall into. The following page shows all of the suppliers that we use and which tier they fall into, and a summary of how our tiers are in our company. The last thing I worked on was a supplier performance business review. The company does monthly reviews with their suppliers, and it takes into account a bunch of different departments' inputs. And before this template, there was a lot of emailing back and forth, information was lost. Every month there was a new Excel document that was emailed back and forth. And so I saw that this was a lot of wasted time and effort, and I created one document where all the departments are centralized into this space. It's also a yearly document, so you don't have to create a new one every month you're doing a business review, and you can actually track the progress. So here is just one example of a KPI tracking. KPI means key performance indicator, which is what you're using to base your supplier's performance on. And so now it takes into consideration 4 different departments as well as a goal tracking system. And that's all that I did this summer, so please let me know if you have any